Happy New Year. You're watching the World Review 2024. Donald Trump's victory in the U.S. presidential election overshadowed all other political events across the globe during 2024. His return to the White House will have a major impact on the world geopolitical landscape, including the Russia-Ukraine war, conflicts in the Middle East, and the global economy. In the Middle East, war continues in the Gaza Strip, while Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon reached a ceasefire deal.
Take a look at what happened.
Arguably the defining geopolitical moment of 2024, July 13th, the day Donald Trump was shot by a would-be assassin. He was seen with blood on his grazed right ear, defiantly raising a fist in triumph. Many analysts say it was the day he won the 2024 presidential election, his supporters sincerely believing he took a bullet for them. It was followed by a rousing Republican National Convention, where Trump, sporting a bandaged ear, was confirmed as the GOP candidate. Earlier, he had dominated an often incoherent U.S. President Joe Biden in their first and only election debate. Biden, under pressure from Democrats to step aside, announced on July 21st that he would not seek re-election. He threw his support behind Vice President Kamala Harris, and suddenly the Democratic campaign was revitalized. For several months, Harris appeared to be favored among voters, according to numerous polls, though the margins were thin ahead of the November 5th election. But Trump's campaign to focus on grassroots concerns, such as the economy and illegal immigration, resonated better with voters than Harris's strategy to portray her rival as a dictator. In the days before November 5th, Harris held a slight lead overall and was expected to take at least some of the battleground states comprising Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. Trump, however, had a clean sweep of all 7 swing states, garnering 312 electoral college votes to Harris's 226. His criminal conviction in the hush money case, in which he was found guilty of falsifying business records related to a payoff to porn star Stormy Daniels, seemingly meant nothing to voters. Nor did his other court cases, and Democrats' attempts to warn against voting in a convicted felon as president. Trump's victory has the potential to bring in significant global changes, particularly in relation to the Ukraine-Russia war, the Middle East, and the Asia-Pacific region. It has already sent shivers across a wary world, with most of Trump's policies, on the face of it, opposite to those of President Joe Biden. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is already reaching out to the incoming leader, saying the war would end faster with Trump in charge. Trump is against the tens of billions of dollars Biden has given to Kiev for weapons that appear to be doing little to keep Russian troops from advancing in the east. He's also wary of NATO, saying the European allies are not spending enough on defense and relying too much on the U.S.
On
the war front, Zelensky's hyped-up counteroffensive from 2023 is a near-forgotten memory, as Russian forces gradually recaptured territory in the Donbass and other regions. From the start of the year, Russian and Ukrainian attacks against each other were accompanied by a slow but steady advance of Moscow's forces in the administrative regions of Donetsk and Luhansk, which make up eastern Ukraine's Donbass region. Zelensky has since been pleading with Biden for permission to use U.S.-supplied long-range weapons to strike deep inside Russia. Biden finally relented in November, lighting a potential nuclear fuse under a conflict that increasingly looks like a NATO proxy war with Russia. He responded by sending a new type of weapon, named the Oreshnik, in the Dnipro region of Ukraine. In the wake of Biden's green light for long-range weapons, Moscow also loosened its nuclear doctrine, though neither Russia nor the U.S. reported any change of nuclear posture. Ukraine had previously scored a fleeting victory by invading the Russian region of Kursk, but the advance was gradually halted by Russian troops, and the Ukrainians are now reportedly being pushed back. Zelensky also unveiled his victory plan that he said could end the war. However, it involved reclaiming the Donbass and the provinces of Kherson and Zaporizhia. Moscow, having annexed the 4 regions in 2022, said it would never give up its claim to these territories. Trump has vowed to end the war. He is likely to take a different tack, halting aid to Ukraine and forcing Zelensky to the negotiating table. Where Trump's Republicans and the Democrats do converge now and historically is in their alliance to Israel. Trump previously said Israel should be finishing the job in Gaza, with the conflict still raging, Hamas still active, and around 70 hostages still alive and held captive in the Strip. The situation in the Middle East remains dire, with an all-out regional war still a threat, and Israel battling on multiple fronts. Close to 46,000 people have been killed in Gaza. Despite Israel's vow to defeat Hamas, the group and its allies continue to launch guerrilla-style attacks on Israeli troops in the Gaza Strip. Over the course of the year, Gaza's civilian population has been hardest hit, but medics, journalists, and even foreign aid workers have also suffered casualties. In February, the Flower Massacre saw at least 118 Palestinians killed by Israeli fire as they sought food from aid trucks in Gaza City in the north. In April, Israeli airstrikes hit a convoy of vehicles belonging to charity group World Central Kitchen, killing 7 people, including British and Australian nationals. Israel described it as a grave mistake. Using daily barrages of airstrikes and ground operations, Israel spent the first half of the year in Gaza trying to wipe out Hamas battalions starting from the north. By May, they were ready to go against international opposition and attack the remaining battalions in the southern district of Rafah, where hundreds of thousands of Palestinians had sought refuge. The Israeli Defense Forces told Palestinians to evacuate the designated safe zones, many of which turned out to be far from safe. In June, Israel launched an operation to rescue 4 hostages held at the Nuseirat refugee camp in central Gaza at the cost of more than 270 Palestinian lives. 90 displaced people were killed in a single attack on the Al-Mawasi camp west of Khan Yunis in the south in July. Numerous attacks in 2024 resulted in more than 100 deaths in a single day. One of the most astonishing moments of the war came in mid-October when Hamas's military leader, Yahya Sinwar, was killed in action. In dramatic drone footage provided by the IDF, an injured Sinwar was seen slumped over a sofa under a rocket attack on a building he was hiding in. Despite his injuries, he defiantly threw a stick at the drone before the IDF killed him. The IDF returned to the north of the Strip later in the year, saying Hamas had regrouped, with aid agencies warning of a major humanitarian crisis unfolding. Aid trucks were only trickling in, with hundreds of thousands of people reportedly facing famine. The U.S. told Israel to allow more trucks to flow in, or Washington would cut weapons funding. Israel also banned the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees in the Near East, UNRWA, from the Gaza Strip, accusing it of siding with Hamas.
Yes, there are.
In early December, a Hamas spokesman said ceasefire negotiations with Israel had begun, with both sides accusing each other of hampering talks. Soon afterwards, the International Criminal Court issued global arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, former Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and top Hamas official Mohammed Deif. Netanyahu and his ally, U.S. President Joe Biden, hit out at the ICC ruling. Neither Israel nor the U.S. is an ICC member. The ruling means that countries who have signed up are obliged to arrest any of the 3 individuals if they arrive on their shores. As of November, around 100 hostages from the original 250 were still held by Hamas. About 30 of them reportedly have died in captivity. Hostilities between Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah also intensified in 2024 before they agreed to a truce plan late in the year. The IDF launched a ground incursion in a quest to push Hezbollah back from southern Lebanon and allow thousands of displaced Israelis to return to their homes in the north. Almost 3,000 people have been killed in Lebanon, including the head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, and other top leaders and commanders. Hezbollah started firing rockets, missiles, and drones into Israel after Hamas's October 7th, 2023 attack in solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza. Tens of thousands of people in northern Israel were forced to evacuate their homes. Israel's quest to return the displaced started with an audacious September attack on Hezbollah operatives through their pagers, which contained explosives that were detonated remotely. At least 32 people died, including 2 children, and thousands more were injured as the pagers exploded almost simultaneously across Lebanon. Reports say Hezbollah ordered the pagers from a Taiwanese firm, but the gadgets were said to have been manufactured by a Hungarian company. A day later, walkie-talkies exploded, killing 20 and injuring at least 450. Escalation was rapid as Israel then scored a major blow, finding and then killing Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah, using massive amounts of explosives to penetrate his underground bunker in Beirut. This was followed by the killing of Nasrallah's intended successor, Safeddin, and then a ground incursion to southern Lebanon. But Hezbollah still stands, and reports from the ground say Israel has suffered multiple blows on the battlefield, with many dead and even more injured. The IDF has failed to make significant ground in southern Lebanon and retreated from brief gains. With more than 3,500 dead in the conflict, late November saw hope of a ceasefire agreement.
Good afternoon.
On November 26th, U.S. President Joe Biden and French President Emmanuel Macron announced the long-awaited deal that Israel and Hezbollah accepted. It called for a 60-day truce, with Biden hoping that it will pave the way for a permanent ceasefire. Hostilities between Israel and Iran are threatening to boil over after decades of simmering tensions over various issues. At no time have the two regional powers come as close to a full-scale war as in 2024. Israel has long regarded Tehran as a major threat to regional stability because of their links to Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthi group that controls large parts of Yemen. In early April, Israel conducted an airstrike on the compound housing the consular section of the Iranian embassy in Syria. It resulted in the deaths of several Iranian military leaders. Iran vowed revenge. On April 13th, Iran launched some 300 drones and missiles towards Israel. It was the first time Iran had carried out an attack aimed at targets inside Israel. Israel reported limited damage, but several missiles breached the Iron Dome defense shield designed to shoot down enemy missiles. Israel hit back in mid-April with drone strikes on the Iranian city of Isfahan. In late July, the situation was aggravated by the assassination of Hamas's political leader Ismail Haniyeh while he was attending the inauguration of Iran's new president, Masoud Pezeshkian, in Tehran. The killing of Nasrallah in Beirut on September 27th further raised the stakes, and a few days later, Iran responded with another attack on Israel. Some 200 ballistic missiles were aimed at military targets, many breaching the Iron Dome defenses and causing damage to Nevatim Air Base. After the attack, Iran declared mission accomplished, and they considered the matter closed. But Israel was not about to let it go. Israeli warplanes fired projectiles at Iranian military sites while avoiding Tehran's nuclear facilities. Iran vowed to hit back stronger than the two previous attacks on Israel. As of late December, Iran had yet to take action. Experts suggest the Israel-Hezbollah ceasefire might have played a part in Tehran's restraint. Meanwhile, the Houthi group in Yemen continues to disrupt shipping in the Red Sea and other waterways in solidarity with Palestinians. Despite sporadic U.S. and allied airstrikes on Houthi positions, they've failed to prevent the Houthis' blockade of shipping lanes.